안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. So, we are live. 준비됐어요, 여러분? Okay. You know the drill. You already said 준비됐어요, some of you. Okay. 오늘의 라이브 수업은 particles, 조사에 대해서 이야기하겠습니다. 조사 is the word for particles in the Korean language. All right. So, excuse me. I thought I was ready. So today I'll be reviewing particles with you, and then you will be learning some new information, and I would like to answer as many questions as possible about particles. I hope I am well lit and you can hear me. All right, everything good? 다 좋아요? 자, 그러면 한번 수업을 시작해 볼게요. So let me begin today's class. Here's my screen. I'll be typing over here. So when I'm reading comments, I'm looking over here. Here's my camera. Hi. And then I'm typing over here. All right. 한국어에서 particles, 조사 정말 중요합니다. Let me start by saying something that I just said on Instagram when I logged on for a little bit to tell people to come over to YouTube. Here's the harsh truth, okay? Just imagine how many Korean learners I have met over the course of the past 17 years since I started Korean education. Talk to Me in Korean. Talk to Me in Korean was started in 2009, 17 years ago, but I started Korean education activities in general around 2004, 2005. So it's been more than 20 years, right? Imagine the number of people that I've met and interacted with who have been learning Korean. Out of the tens of thousands of people, I have not met a single Korean learner who never makes particle mistakes. Okay? So that's something that I want to tell you right now. Okay. 한국어 조사 실수를 안 하는 한국어 학습자를 만난 적이 없어요. I have not met a single Korean learner, beginner or advanced, who doesn't make any Korean particle mistakes. Which means if you flip it around, everybody makes Korean particle mistakes, sometimes even Korean native speakers. So the only people who don't make mistakes with particles are professional Korean teachers, professional Korean, broadcasters who read a lot, practice a lot. So particles are like that. And another truth number one is everybody makes mistakes regarding Korean particles, regardless of their, if I can type, current level or learning history. Okay, so it's good. And then truth number two, this is something that you already know. Particles are something you learn in the beginning, but you continue to study even as an advanced learner. Okay, that's something that I want to say right now. Particles. We do have 은는 이가. The first lesson in the Talk to Me in Korean curriculum where particles appear is level 1, lesson 9, 은는 이가. And we introduced it so early because without adding these particles, it's really tricky to start forming longer and longer sentences because these particles have specific roles, right? So we're gonna go over them, but I don't know the general average level of everybody in the chat, and I see Korean sentences, 한국어 문장도 많이 있고. So I don't want to start from the very, very, very beginning because I don't want to bore you, but let me go over some of these really quickly and review with them and then go into some specifics, okay? The purpose of this class is to clear some doubts, some uncertain parts, not to reintroduce everything, because to learn Korean particles, you can actually go to our website. If you click open the description of this live class, by the way, you can rewatch the whole thing, all our past live classes. Click open the description. You will see the first link. That's the course that you need to take to learn everything about Korean particles. It's right here, taught by Yeji, who is now a labor attorney. You have to follow her story on her Instagram. You can, go to Talk to Me in Korean's Instagram and trace things back to or over to Yeji. And yeah, so we have these 9 lessons and a review lesson over here. Get confident with nuanced Korean. That's what it is. Nuanced Korean is what you want to be able to express through particles, through your mastery of particles. Let's go back here. All good so far? 다 네, 괜찮죠? 아까 조던님이 질문을 해주셨는데, okay, so I have some stuff written down here. I'm going to actually take a screenshot of your questions because I promised to answer them, and then get back to them later. Over here. Okay. 여기다가 질문을 저장해 두겠습니다. I'm going to save your questions here. Alright? So let's begin. 준비해 볼게요. 자, 시작해 보겠습니다. First of all, we have these infamous 4, 은는 이가. So what are they? And for those of you who are new to the Korean language, please pay close attention here because 은는 is a pair, 이가 is a pair. And we normally add this hyphen in our lesson notes or on screen because this means that it has to be attached directly to the preceding noun or pronoun without a space. So for example, 저는, 학생은, okay? 는, 은. 는 and 은 are exactly the same in what they do. It's only the pronunciation. When the preceding noun or pronoun ends without a consonant, you add 는. When it has a consonant at the end, you have 은. That's it. That's the only difference. And the same difference applies to 이가, right? 이것이, okay? 이것. This thing has the last consonant, 받침, so you add e after that. And what's a good example? 나무, a tree, 나무가, okay? Like that. The difference between 은는 and 이가, that's something that a lot of people have headaches about, right? So we're going to practice. And to give you the bottom line or the summarized version, 은는 is to show contrast or to introduce a topic. So that is why it's called the topic marking particle, topic marker. And then 이가 is usually the answer to who did it, who's going to do it, who would like to do it, who is doing it. So as an answer to who, 이가 is called the subject marking particle because we're talking about the subject. But you'll see what I mean. Okay. Here. Please tell me. This is a little quiz for you. So particles are going to be easier for you to understand and master when you think of them as kind of an answer to a question. So here, this person said, oh, they went there. Your friends, the other members of your group went there. What about you? Did you? And then you want to say, as for me, I didn't go there. So there's a contrast, right? So what's the answer here? 여기에 뭐가 들어가야 될까요? 네, 저는. It might be easy to guess because it's not 제가, but here 저 plus 가 turns into 제가. in some regions, in some dialects, you will also hear 저가 했어요, but that's not standard Korean, so it changes to 제가 to, I don't know, sound more natural, to make the sound flow natural. All the pronunciation changes are usually done for ease of pronunciation, more flow. So yeah, this one is easy, right? They went there, did you? 저는 안 갔어요. 저는 안 갔어요. Correct answer, everyone. Congratulations. 네, 저는 안 갔어요. So you can, with this sentence, you can translate it to, as for me, I didn't go. You can also read it as like this. Let's read it with me. First, plainly repeat after me. 저는 안 갔어요. 저는 안 갔어요. You don't want to add any more meaning to it, so you can just say 저는 안 갔어요. That's it. Very plain, nothing else. No other meaning. 저는 안 갔어요. But you can also say, you know, with a little bit of hesitation, 저는 안 갔어요, right? And then it can imply so many things. As for me, I didn't, but my, I don't know, girlfriend went, my, you know, boss went, my entire family went, and then 저는 안 갔어요. Something like that. You can imply many things about the context, about the situation, right? 저는 안 갔어요. Understand? This is easy, right? But then, here. This one is a trick question because actually the answer, to give you the spoil it for you, it's actually not starting with 저, it has to be 제가. There was no good way for me to actually quiz you between 저는 and 제가 without changing this part. So here you go. The question is, I heard someone didn't go. I'm looking for the person who didn't go. Who did not go? Okay. Okay, the question has to be who didn't. Who didn't, or who was it that didn't go? I'm looking for somebody who didn't go. As an answer to who, it's 제가 안 갔어요. Yeah, 제가 안 갔어요. So what happens when you're supposed to say 제가 안 갔어요? So imagine a very specific situation when there was a problem because one person was missing from a ride or something like that. You paid for 10 people, 10 passengers, but one person didn't show up. So there was a problem. Only 9 people showed up and the 9 people had to wait. So who didn't go? Who is it that is responsible for this chaos? And you're like, 제가 안 갔어요. So that's the situation. Imagine it in your head. And then what happens if you say 저는 안 갔어요? Yeah. 저는, exactly. Mystical Eve says 저는 would sound awkward in this situation. Yeah. In this case, 저는 안 갔어요. It would make you sound like you are missing the context. You're missing the topic of this, I guess, dialogue, right? So because we are, the person who's asking the question is specifically looking for the subject. Hey, I'm looking for the subject who didn't do this action, which is causing the problem and everybody's experiencing inconvenience. Who is it? And then you're like, by the way, as for me, I'm not interested in your conversation. By the way, I'm going to talk about something entirely new. I'm going to introduce a new topic. 저는 like that, okay? If, for example, the situation is another one, like who broke my expensive wine glass? Who dropped my phone on the floor? Something like that. And then you're like, well, as for me, I didn't do it. Showing contrast from whoever did it, that works, okay? 이거 누가 만졌어요? Who touched it? And then this person is accusing 현우. 현우 씨가 만졌어요? Did you do it, 현우? And then 현우, me, I'll say, 저는 안 만졌어요. 저는 그게 거기 있는지도 몰랐어요. 들어오세요. My son is here. I mean, so remember? Can you close the door?
Okay.
He wanted to give you a little pep talk, encouraging message before like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and he kept missing it. And today he set an alarm and he woke up on time. 시간 맞춰서 잘 일어났네요.
네.
So can you hear him? 많이 컸죠? Come on. 이쪽으로 앉으세요. 이쪽으로 앉을 수 있을까? Sit on my lap like that. It's too big.
안녕하세요. Hi.
Yes. So we were talking about how to speak confidently, how to, where fluency comes from. I think 3 weeks ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Did you wash your face?
Yep.
Did you sleep well? Mm-hmm. By the way, everyone, off topic, he finally has his own room and he slept by himself for the first time yesterday. How was it? Were you scared?
Little bit.
A little bit. 안 무서웠어? 좀 괜찮았어?
네.
But you fell asleep really quickly, I think.
Oh, really?
I went to check back on you 10 minutes later and you were sleeping.
Oh.
Okay. 왜 이렇게 귀여워요? Tell me, why are you so cute? Do you have an answer?
Um.
No. You have to say thanks to daddy. No?
Everyone, do you think my dad is cute?
6학년이에요. 6학년. In Korean we say 올라가요. You're going into 6th grade. Yeah, everybody's saying so cute. I heard thanks to mom. Jordan, you and I have to talk.
Okay.
So you wanted to say something briefly about how to. Okay, let me actually switch cameras, and then yeah, you can see more of him and more of me. What did you want to say? 어떤 말을 하고 싶었나요?
First, you can make many mistakes if you're not a native speaker.
Right.
So 너무 힘들 때는 조금만 더 힘내서 목표량을 채워서 하다 보면은 금방 내가 원하는 데까지 갈 수 있다. That's what I'm doing with my English.
Right. Cool. So when it's too challenging, just look at the next milestone, right? I'm gonna go, 저기까지만 갈 거야. So that's what you're doing with your English. Is that also what you're doing with your math, Korean, everything else that you're studying? 숙제가 이만큼 남았어. Yes, we should set a goal, right? 다른 공부도 그렇게 하고 있나요?
가끔씩.
Okay.
Sometimes.
All right. So that's your message. Thank you so much. You are 3 weeks late, but we appreciate it. What are you going to do now? Go back to sleep or are you fully awake?
I don't know what to do after this.
가서 play with your brother.
No, he's sleeping.
He's sleeping. Okay, he went back to sleep. 국립학교. 공립학교. Yeah, he goes to normal Korean elementary school. Don't let me catch you gaming online. He has his, screen time 2 hours on the weekend, right?
Yep.
So he's free to do whatever he wants. He has 2 hours of screen time given to him on his iPad at 1 p.m., right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's our agreement. So until 1 p.m., he has nothing to do with gaming. Bless you. That's the thing. In English, you say bless you, but in Korean, what do you say? 누가 재채기 하면?
Nothing.
Nothing, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Good cultural lesson. Okay, go. Say bye.
Bye.
문 닫아주세요. Thank you. Bye. That's enough. That's enough. All right. Yeah, screen time management is really important. 일단 문을 닫아야 됩니다. Okay. Thank you for being very kind to him. He came in to deliver the message that he wanted to. Yes, very brave of him to speak English on a live or speak any language on a live class, right? 엄마, 아빠 둘 다 닮았어요. Does he look like mommy or daddy? I think he's, half and half. Is it expected that the person who sneezed to say the equivalent of excuse me or anything else? So that's the thing. A little bit of culture lesson. Sneezing isn't talked about in Korean culture, period. Okay? Sneezing isn't talked about in Korean culture, period. That was me repeating the important message. You don't talk about it. You don't say anything to the person who sneezed, because saying anything about the fact that this other person sneezed feels like accusing them of spreading germs. Like somebody sneezes, etchi. And by the way, that's the sound that we describe it with, etchi. Like etchi, like that. Achu. You're like, okay, by the way, back to the topic. If you say anything, it's probably just out of concern. Like if you hear the other person sneezing 3 times in a row within, say, 5 seconds, etchi, etchi, etchi. And then you're like, 괜찮아요? 감기 걸렸어요? Are you okay? Have you caught a cold? 괜찮으세요? 괜찮아요? 괜찮으세요? 감기 걸렸어요? Or adding 시, 감기 걸리셨어요? Like that. But other than that, you don't say anything. It's a polite thing to not say anything. And then the person who sneezed, if the conversation was disturbed, interrupted, disrupted even by your sneezing, you maybe apologize. 죄송합니다. Apologize. That's it. Okay? All right. So back to particles. So here I was emphasizing the fact that 가 is used to talk about who did, or who is the one that did, that will do something, that is doing something, okay? So that is that. We'll have more specific examples of 는 versus 이가. Thank you for your kind comments about my son's speech, my son's appearance. 네, 좋아요. Okay, and then let's talk about location marking particles. So today we are once again reviewing some particle information and then going over confusing parts, potentially confusing parts. I want to clear confusion. The person who's asking a question is saying, where do you want to go? What's the particle that should go in here? 카페 가고 싶어요. What's the particle you would use? Where do you want to go? What's the location marking particle? Can you give me the answer? In the meantime, I will read comments. What's the verb for sneezing? 재채기 is the noun for sneeze. And 재채기 하다 is to sneeze. Okay. Cool. Everybody knows. So 카페에 가고 싶어요. Good. Where do you want to go? 카페에 가고 싶어요. Here, if you say 카페는 가고 싶어요, assuming that there's no confusion anymore about 카페은, 카페는, because 카페은 sounds awkward, 는 is the one, because 카페 ends without a consonant. But if somebody said 어디 가고 싶어요? 카페에 가고 싶어요. That's very natural and normal. But 어디 가고 싶어요 is asked and you hear 카페는 가고 싶어요. What does it sound like? Well, this one doesn't require a lot of explanation because it flows naturally. It's very normal. 어디 가고 싶어요? And then you hear the other person saying 카페는 가고 싶어요. A, it can sound like a mistake. Or B, if this were a conversation between native speakers who are very well spoken, who wouldn't make any particle related mistakes, then you will be a detective and think, okay, there must be an explanation for this. So let's keep listening. So 어디 가고 싶어요? 카페는 가고 싶어요. 그런데 지금 좀, let's say, 배가 아파요. My stomach is upset. So it turns out, just part of a longer speech, and the other person is just setting the tone of the speech. Okay. 카페는 가고 싶어요. 그런데, so as for a coffee shop, which I already had in mind, I didn't mention before, I would like to go there. So it's a contrast. Okay. But I can't go there right now because my stomach is upset. I need to use the bathroom or something like that. So this, without any other explanation, without any other part added right after, as you know, an additional information, this part wouldn't make any sense. It would just be flagged as a mistake by your Korean teacher. Okay? Do you know what I mean? So this is the correct answer normally, in normal, the majority of circumstances. And then here, question is, where else do you want to go? You just went to a restaurant, you just went to a botanical garden, 식물원, you went to the zoo, 동물원, you went to the library, 도서관. Where else do you want to go? What's the answer here? Yes. 카페도 가고 싶어요. Yeah, 카페도 가고 싶어요. This one is easy. 카페도 가고 싶어요. And I hear 광주 맛집. Oh, 광주 맛집. Is that what it should be read like? 광주 맛집? Because I'm from Gwangju. That's my hometown. And there are lots of naturally formed 맛집s in Gwangju. All right. Related to your comment, we have this one. So the question is, so you don't want to go here, you don't want to go there, you don't want to go to the restaurant, you don't want to go to the library, you don't want to go to the office. What's a place you would really like to go? What's one place you are willing to go to? Tell me. Where? What place do you have in mind? And then in that case, you can say 카페를 가고 싶어요. So this is the start of many people having doubts because this is more complicated because you learn 을을 as the object marking particle, but then you see it used in so many places where you're talking about a place. So 카페를. So when you're coming from a grammar textbook situation only, you memorize, okay, 을을 is added after a place name to talk about going to that place. or doing something at that place. But then 카페를, you hear the sentence starting like this. 카페를 열었어요. 카페를 찾았어요. 카페를 차렸어요. So I opened a coffee shop. 차렸어요 is the same thing. I started a new coffee shop. And then 찾았어요. I found a new coffee shop. So when you hear 카페를 like that, it is very natural to only think of examples of verbs that are using 카페, coffee shop, as an object. But in real life Korean, when the context is like this, so what's a place you would like to go to? You often hear 카페를 가고 싶어요, like that. Right? Yeah, so this is something that a lot of learners find difficult to naturally understand. 원래 이렇게 카페에 가고 싶어요. 이 문장을 많이 보기 때문에 카페는 as a contrast, this is also easier to understand. 카페도, that's also fairly easy. But then 카페를 가고 싶어요. It just breaks everything. It disturbs everything, all the understanding that you have formed over the years, right? But it is what it is. It is used like that. Yeah, 이렇게 쓰입니다. In all the cases, 에 would work everywhere, right? So let me see. 카페에 가고 싶어요 works. Yeah. Where else do you want to go? 카페에 가고 싶어요. Well, yes, 카페에 가고 싶어요. It would work, but we're just adding 도 there, mainly because where else is here, just to make it a little clearer. And here, 카페에 가고 싶어요 would work, yes. But you would have to use your intonation cues more clearly to say, yeah, 카페에 가고 싶어요, like that. So once again, to wrap this part up, 를 or 을 can be used as a location marking particle when you are emphasizing the fact that, oh, this is the choice that I would like to make in certain contexts. All right? And then this was just one example, and there are lots of other examples of particles that change, or particle choices that change, that have to change based on the context. So we're going to look at some specific examples, how these particles change. I have prepared a few, so let's go over them really quickly. So from here until, let's say, over here, okay? Let's take a break over here and let me answer some of your questions. But I would like to start from here and then offer a ton of information, details, really quickly, okay? If you're ready. Are you ready? 한번 볼게요. So, let me begin. 민우 씨는 어디에 살아요? 민우 씨는 어디에 살아요 would be the natural starting sentence that you would say. For example, as for 민우, so 민우 is not here, 민우 is not the listener. As the third person, A and B are talking about 민우. 민우 씨는 어디에 살아요? And then, yeah, this is very natural. But then you have to say 민우 씨가. You have to change 는 to 가 if it is part of an enclosed clause. So here, 민우 씨가 어디에 사는지 아세요? So where does 민우 live? It's a plain sentence. It's not a complex sentence. And then here, do you know where 민우 lives? It's an enclosed sentence. So the clause inside usually has 가. Okay? And 를 is omitted. 민우 씨가 어디에 사는지를 아세요? Do you know where 민우 lives? And then from this sentence, so let's make it simpler once again so that it is easier to see the difference. So you learn up to this point and you're like, okay, you're memorizing. Okay, what's enclosed inside has 가. But it can also go back to 민우 씨는 어디에 사는지 아세요? Like that. Even though it's part of a longer phrase when it is contrast. So contrast is very strong. When you need to show contrast, the other rules can be kind of overwritten. So 민우 씨는 어디에 사는지 아세요? Here, you have to have already talked about somebody else. So 현우, let's say 현우 씨가 어디에 사는지 아세요? And now how about 민우 씨는 어디에 사는지 아세요? So in that case, it sounds natural, right? And then when you are not sure whether to use 민우 씨가 어디에 사는지 아세요? 민우 씨는 어디에 사는지 아세요? You just drop particles. 민우 씨 어디에 사는지 아세요? And this one, in this case, works. Okay? And does it sound unnatural if you say 민우 씨는 어디에 사는지 아세요 without context? It can sound unnatural without context. So the context doesn't have to be all verbal. It's the whole situation, right? So normally, if it's a simple sentence, 민우 씨는 어디에 살아요? This is the best one. If it's a more complex sentence with an enclosed clause inside where somebody lives, subject verb clause, 민우 씨가. So usually the inner part has the subject marker 가. But if it has to show some context, it can have the topic marker, the contrast marker, all right? And then in this specific example, I guess list of examples, it is okay to omit 민우 씨 particle, okay? All right. Another topic, another, I guess, example. You are walking into a room, kitchen, house, and then you see me cooking. And then a very plain sentence. The most plain sentence that you can start with is 현우 씨는 요리를 하고 있어요. Think of a documentary opening scene as a video. You know, dissolve in, lights in, and then you see 현우 cooking. 현우 씨는 요리를 하고 있어요. The most plain sentence. But then, let's say you are surprised that I am cooking, right? 요리를 하고 있어요. 놀랐어요. You are surprised that 현우 is cooking. In that case, you don't say this plain sentence. You say 현우 씨가 요리를 하고 있어요 as a surprised person's statement. 현우 씨가 요리를 하고 있어요. So why is 가 more natural? Because the subject is me. The subject is 현우. So as for 현우, what is he doing? 요리를 하고 있어요. Nothing unusual. He does it all the time, let's say. But he doesn't do it. So 현우? Like, what? Who's cooking? 현우 is cooking. As an answer to who, you say 가. 현우 씨가 요리를 하고 있어요. 현우 씨가 요리를 하고 있어요. Let's say my wife never plays PlayStation games, console games, right? And then my sons, or Jun, who you just saw, he spots my wife playing a game on PlayStation. And then he comes running to me. If he were to say this, 엄마는 게임을 하고 있어요. It would be the most awkward and unnatural Google Translate kind of sentence that you would see in the subtitle of a drama. Like, what? Why is it in Korean and doesn't sound anything like natural Korean? It would be that bad, right? Huh? What? Like, are you speaking Korean? It's that bad. And then if the sentence was 엄마가 게임을 하고 있어요, all of a sudden it's completely natural and it would be so dramatic. What? Mom is playing a video game? Like that. So that is how important the particles are, the yeah, how important the correct choice of particles can be, right? So 현우 씨는 요리를 하고 있어요. Once again, it's a plain sentence. When it's plain, you're starting off your monologue, dialogue, conversation. Go with the 는. And then who is, like the subject is important. More specifically, 현우 씨가 요리를 하고 있어요. And also, like I said earlier, when it's an enclosed sentence, it's a clause inside of a sentence, you usually use 가. So like that. 현우 씨가 요리한 음식이에요. It is food that 현우 cooked, that 현우 made, right? 현우 씨가. This part I don't think I need to explain any further. And then here as well, 현우 씨가 요리한 음식은, this is just another variation. The food that 현우 cooked, it's inside the longer sentence. So 현우 씨가 조금 맛이 이상해요. Yeah, I admit that my sons sometimes say that. Not that they would call me 현우 씨. 아빠가 요리한 음식은 조금 맛이 이상해요. Like it tastes a little bit strange. So that's that. I think we have made it clear so far. But 현우 씨가 요리한 음식, this part, you thought, okay, 현우 씨가 요리한 음식, that cannot change. But then it can change because if the dynamic is different, 현우 씨는 요리한 음식, 자기가 요리한 음식, the subject is actually omitted. He himself cooked. Okay? So 현우 씨는, we're going back to the normal plain sentence form, right? 현우 씨는 사진을 찍고 있어요. 현우 is taking a picture of what? The dish that he made himself. 자기가 요리한 음식에 사진을 찍고 있어요. Right? Like that. And because 자기가, this part is omitted, and then we don't have brackets like that in normal sentences, you can be like, all right, so here it has to be 현우 씨가 요리한 음식. But why is it 현우 씨는 요리한 음식 here? That can be a source of confusion, right? But you need to look at the structure. How or where do the words form a group? In this case, 현우 씨가 요리한 음식 is the group. And here, the group is 자기가 요리한 음식, but then we're omitting 자기가. Right? Okay. And then here, 현우 씨는 요리한 음식의 사진을 찍고 있어요. And then 현우 씨가 요리한 음식의 사진을 찍고 있어요. And then you understood everything up until this point, but then there's another variation. What's the difference between these two? Right? This one is 현우 씨는 요리한 음식의 사진을 찍고 있어요. Who made the dishes? 현우, right? I cooked. 현우 씨가 요리한 음식의 사진을 찍고 있어요. Who made the dishes? It's also 현우. There's no doubt in this case. But who's taking the pictures is debatable. Who's taking the pictures? So in this case, who's taking pictures? 현우, 100%. Who cooked? 현우, 100%. In this one, who cooked? 현우, 100%. Who's taking pictures? Could be 현우. 다른 사람. Someone else? 50%. Do you see what I mean? Because there's no doubt that 현우 cooked because of this 가. 가, like I said earlier, like I emphasized earlier, 가 is an answer to who. Who cooked? The connection between 현우 씨 and 요리하다 is so strong because of 가 that there's no doubt that 현우 씨가 요리한 음식 is dish, a dish cooked by 현우. But then we can debate. Oh, 사진을 찍고 있어요. Oh, we don't see or hear any mention of the subject of the photo taking activity. So it could be the speaker. 저요? 현우 씨가 요리한 음식에 사진을 찍고 있어요. Yeah. So in this case, when the context is not clear as to who's taking the picture, you need to say 현우 씨가. 현우 씨는 요리한 음식에 사진을 찍고 있어요. 현우 씨가 요리한 음식에 사진을 찍고 있어요. So here, this sentence is correct. This sentence is correct. This one is correct. Correct, correct, correct. All correct. So there's no single answer as to which particle is used here after 현우 씨. Everything makes sense. Here, 엄마가 게임을 하고 있어요. Makes sense. This one is correct. When it shows surprise, 엄마는 게임을 하고 있어요. Is also, it can be correct when it is not show of surprise, but contrast. So, 이모, like mom's sister, 이모는 요리를 하고 있어요. 엄마는 게임을 하고 있어요. 아빠는 운동을 하고 있어요. 형은 공부를 하고 있어요. When you are listing several people's activities like that showing contrast, this sentence is also absolutely correct. This one wouldn't make sense in the situation I described earlier. Only in that situation it would sound awkward, but everything makes sense. So it's a fun activity when you look at a Korean sentence to assume that it must be absolutely accurate. In what kind of situation would it make sense? And that's something that I also do. 한국어 가르칠 때 저도 그런 생각을 많이 해요. I think about that a lot. Like I deliberately make a mistake, write the wrong word, and I always ask myself, in what situation specifically would this make sense? And that gives me so many materials to teach with. Okay, that's a lot, right? And then this one. Another starting point. 우리 카페에 갈까요? We're talking about 에 and 에서. 에 is, you learn it as mainly you are going to a certain place or you are existing in a certain place, right? That's usually the explanation. And 에서 is when you are doing something inside a certain place, doing an action. Versus existing somewhere, right? So that's the main thing. 우리 카페에 갈까요? Shall we go to a coffee shop? 우리 카페에서 커피 마실까요? Shall we drink coffee in a coffee shop? So these two are easier examples, right? I'm sure that you already know the usages of these. And then when you are talking about a direction, so let's say that's the basic. These are the basics, okay? And then direction. Instead of saying 카페에 갈까요? You say 카페로 갈까요? When you are not on the move already, or when you are not already doing some sort of activity related to going somewhere, 카페로 갈까요? Sounds too sudden, too abrupt, right? You have to say 카페에 갈까요? If you are like sitting comfortably on a couch with your spouse or your friend, 우리 카페에 갈까요? That would be 99% of the time the most natural thing to say. But then you stood up, you're like, okay, where to? Which direction should we move in? And you're like, 카페로? That sounds very natural. 카페로 갈까요? And then intentional, deliberate choice. So you decided 5 minutes ago, okay, let's get going. And you are standing together in the lobby of a building on the first floor. You're like, okay, should we talk here? Should we go up to my office once again? Or should we do something else? And then somebody suggests, how about as a choice, 우리 카페를 갈까요? Let's just go to a coffee shop. I think that can be a solution to our inability to decide. 우리 카페를 갈까요? So in this case, 를 sounds really natural because it's 가다 can be used kind of like to decide, to choose to go somewhere. So 카페를 갈까요? The object marker is very natural here. So it makes sense here as a plain sentence. As a plain sentence, it makes sense. This one makes sense. This one also makes sense. Okay? All right. And then 카페, yeah, that's that one chunk. And here 에서 is used in this case because 기다리다 is used to wait. It's an action of waiting for somebody. 카페에서 기다릴까요? You cannot say 카페에 기다릴까요? 우리 카페에 기다릴까요? It doesn't sound natural, this part. So you must always say 카페에서 기다릴까요? But 카페에, there's a situation where this does work when you say 카페에 가서, because it works really well with 가다. You go to a coffee shop and then 거기에서. This part is omitted. It's implied. 우리 카페에 가서 기다릴까요? That's what normally is said, but 거기에서 is omitted, so you don't see it in the sentence like that. 우리 카페에 가서 기다릴까요? 우리 카페에 가서 거기에서 기다릴까요? It works really well, right? Allison says, I can't imagine ever being able to quickly know which particle to use. I will analyze the situation too much and the flow of the conversation will stop. That's something that actually does happen in the beginning, but so that's what you need to do. You need to just learn this whole phrase as a chunk. So for example, 우리 도서관에서 공부할까요? Once you know, for example, 우리 Allison, this is my answer to your question or to your 고민. 우리 도서관에서 공부할까요? 우리 헬스장에서 운동할까요? 우리 let's say 공원에서 산책할까요? You form and practice or you listen to enough examples in this sentence pattern. 우리 도서관에서 공부할까요? Shall we in the library study? 우리 헬스장에서 운동할까요? Shall we in the gym exercise? 우리 공원에서 산책할까요? Shall we in the park? Shall we take a walk? And you're like, okay, I'm completely comfortable with this sentence structure. I can say whatever, I can put in whatever word naturally and flexibly, and I'll be correct every single time. You have 100% confidence with this sentence structure. And then you learn something like this. Okay, so here's what it is. 우리 도서관에 가서 공부할까요? 우리 헬스장에 가서 운동할까요? 우리 공원에 가서 산책할까요? If you just make the switch from the three sentences over here, and then if you go down to these three and stop there, that's going to be complicated to do every single time. But if you practice with these sentences enough as well, so for example, 우리 도서관에 가서 공부할까요? 우리 헬스장에 가서 운동할까요? 우리 공원에 가서 산책할까요? or 우리 공원에 가서 공부할까요? 우리 공원에 가서 운동할까요? 우리 공원에 가서 배드민턴 칠까요? So you form enough sentences in this pattern too, and this will feel like just completely different sentence patterns that you can choose from, and something that flows naturally will come out. So you don't have to worry about having to analyze things too much on the spot. So it's all about practicing and doing a lot of saying things out loud in your study sessions. So 우리 카페에 가서 Here, I am going into specific details and comparing the two because I'm here to give you a particles masterclass to clear some doubts. But normally when you speak, you should be able to say it naturally if you practice enough. 우리 카페에서 correct, incorrect, 카페 가서 okay. In that case, it makes sense. All right, and then now that you understand so-and-so에 가서, you do understand that, okay, 카페로 also could work because it's a direction, and technically speaking, with 가다, to go, you can use the direction particle. 카페로 가서 기다릴까요? So, as you know, one of my favorite activities in teaching Korean is to compare similar items side by side. What's the difference? In what situation would it make sense? Would A make sense? Would B make sense? 우리 카페에 가서 기다릴까요? 우리 카페로 가서 기다릴까요? What's the difference here? The difference is the fact that you are going to go to a coffee shop and will wait there is the same in both situations. But when the listener hears 우리 카페에 가서 기다릴까요? The image that's formed immediately in the listener's head is the group having arrived at the coffee shop already. It's almost like teleporting, 순간이동. We're there. The process of going to the journey of going to the coffee shop isn't imagined in detail. But then 우리 카페로 가서 기다릴까요? When you hear the 로 part, because it's a directional particle, maybe the listener can picture more vividly, okay, how will we go there? Will we walk? Will we drive? Will we take this route? So 카페로, the direction is more vividly pictured in your head. That's it. That's the difference. Translation-wise, it's the same. Okay? And then 우리 that's 승무님 맞아요. The second one can be the spontaneous choice, right? Yeah, 카페로 가서. That also works because you're on the spot changing directions. 카페로 가서, like that. But that's also related to what I was saying. The journey, the process of going to the coffee shop is more emphasized. And then here we see 를 and 가다 used together because it's a deliberate choice. 카페를 다른 날 갈까요? Okay. So 학교 can be used with 를, 학교를 가요. 회사를 가요. Yeah, it's one of those questions that we get from so many advanced speakers. Why do you use 을을 after 가요 when all the textbooks say 학교에 is the correct one? 학교에, 회사에 가요. Yeah, when it's emphasized as a choice, you can use 를 and then 우리 카페에서. So here I wrote it as an example because 우리 카페에서 올까요 would make absolutely no sense. 카페에서 올까요? But 카페에서 음료 포장해서 여기로 다시 올까요? These parts are omitted, so it makes sense. 우리 카페에서, so 포장하다 to, wrap or to have something to go. 포장하다, so 음료 포장해서 have something to go. That's the action. 카페에서, it's happening in the coffee shop. Shall we come back here? All right. So we looked at some specific details here. I hope that was fun. I tried to come up with the best examples to show you the, details, subtle differences. And once again, a reminder, we have lots of tools for your Korean learning, as you know. And if you enjoy this live class, you will enjoy everything that we offer on our several platforms. We have our books. As you can see right below me, we have our speaking app. The green logo is our speaking app, Seo, and our Talk to Me Korean Stories app for graded reading. You can read tons of stories, more than 1,000 stories for your right level. And then you can go to our website, our course site to take this course by Yeji. We have the 은는 이가 lesson over here. All right. And then we have the 에게 한테는 lesson over here. So I'll mute the sound and show you like that. Korean particles party, similarities and differences. So I think you will enjoy listening to this lecture over here. All right, and as promised, some questions. 질문을 좀 받아볼게요. Do you think Seo will ever be able to give feedback on pronunciation? Yes. We already offer some pronunciation feedback, but more feedback will be provided in the future. We have a very big update coming in a few days or this week. So right now is a very good time to download and start using it so that you get used to the app, and then you will see the big update. And within the update, you will see some pronunciation feedback and a feature where you can listen to a specific part of a sentence or a whole sentence and then listen to the, I guess, standard pronunciation and your own pronunciation side by side really quickly. Like a sentence like 우리 카페를 다른 날 갈까요? You listen to the recording and then you listen to your own recording side by side. 우리 카페를 다른 날 갈까요? And then your voice, 우리 카페를 다른 날 갈까요? And you can compare. All right, cool. And then some questions. Okay, because I promised earlier, let's look at Jordan's questions. Watching Korean pronunciation lesson 4 and confused on why 없어요. Why is it 없어요 and not 없어요? Okay, am I missing a rule? That was the first question. Well, this is, instead of a rule, this is just a natural occurrence in Korean. As you know, in Korean, when you have a 받침, the last consonant, you don't say the last consonant very clearly until you know what's coming next. So for example, in Korean, you say up, look at my mouth like that, up. You're not allowed to open your mouth again to make any other sound because you don't have any information, but then you see the next one, 서. So you can't go 서, 요. You have to go connect the two, 없어, and naturally, just because you went from B to S, 없어, it just happens naturally, and the standard pronunciation just reflects it. 없어. I would even be bold enough to say there's no way in Korean to pronounce it like that. It's practically impossible. That makes me out of breath. So like that. Let me try once again. 서요. Practically impossible. It just forces you to say 없어요. Okay? And then 맛있어요 and 맛없어요. Yeah. This one, not a very good explanation, but 맛없어요. 맛있어요. 맛있어요. Not a very good explanation, but some people do say because of this phenomenon, 맛있어요 is sometimes heard, but the standard pronunciation is 맛있어요. I would call it an irregularity. 맛있어요, 맛없어요. Yeah, 맛없어요. Yeah, you have to say 맛없어요. Yeah, let's call it an irregularity. 덥어요, 맛있어요. But once you practice enough, you'll get used to it. Grammar and pronunciation rules are like that. At first, you question everything, and then you get used to it. You're like, okay, fine, it works like that. And as you know, as many of you know, I am learning Italian these days. And at first, I was like, why do you always have to have preposition in front of everything? Il, like, why can't you say my friend? You have to say the my friend in Italian, right? I'm like, is this the always necessary? Like, I have never seen any other language do this. Why? But then after a while, I'm like, if I say mia moglie, like my wife, I'm like, should I say la mia moglie? I need it. I feel like I need to say it. So yeah, that's great. Thank you for your questions. Here, all right. That's a great question. How about natives skipping particle markers when speaking? How is that level achieved? At first, as a learner, I really, really strongly recommend that you try to add every single particle and choose the right one. There are a few examples where not using any particle is also more natural in some spoken situations. But at first, just try adding particles where they are needed. But then even when native speakers are skipping particles, in the back of their head, they know what particle should have been there. They're just skipping, omitting to sound more colloquial. So as a learner, you don't have to worry too much about like having to skip particles to sound more like native speakers. At first, I think it's a very, very nice thing to be able to use all the right particles in every single particle placeholders, right? Okay. Can you briefly explain 애매하다? Yeah, 애매하다. It's actually easy to understand. 애매하다 is something is in the gray area. Like it's a little vague. 애매하게 말하다. To talk vaguely. 애매하게. To not give clear answers. Or 애매한 상황. It's a catch-22 situation, or it's a situation where there is no good answer. 애매한 상황, like you can't do that, you can't do this. Yeah. Vague ambiguity. Yeah, vague, 애매하다. Yeah, it's very, I would say 애매하다 is very commonly used, much more commonly used than the English word vague. So even 맛이 좀 애매해요. Like the taste. So in English, you wouldn't say that the taste is vague. Like you cooked something. What's the taste like? What do you think about the taste? It's vague. You don't say it like that, but the taste is I don't know. I don't know what to say. That's a common occurrence. Okay. 또 잠깐만요. 질문을 좀 볼게요. 또 있나요? 별자리, zodiac signs, horoscope. zodiac sign, 띠 많이 물어보죠. 띠. 무슨 띠예요? 몇 년생이세요? 무슨 띠예요? Like 원숭이띠, 쥐띠, 호랑이, 토끼띠, this is the order. So G, mouse, cow, tiger, 용, 뱀, 말, 양, 원숭이, 닭, 개, 돼지. So 12, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So I was born in the year of the monkey, and then now I think it's the year of the horse, red horse. So people talk a lot about that. And for example, imagine, this is actually the story of my family. Imagine a 말 and a 소, a cow and a horse. Two very seemingly stubborn animals, right? So when your in-law and you as the daughter-in-law, your mother-in-law and daughter-in-law situation, if it's between 소 and 말, they can imagine, oh, it must be rough. And that was the story of my mom and my grandma. Probably not because of the zodiac signs, but still, it is talked about. And then MBTI, yeah, still very fashionable. People still talk about it. 혈액형 was kind of blood type, was a long time ago. What else is there? Yeah, these things are being talked about these days. Okay. Let me actually come back to some questions after we talk about these examples because we only have a few left, all right? So, 이쪽으로 오세요. 으로, as you know, it's a direction particle. So this is fairly easy to understand. 이쪽에 두세요. Put it down here. 이쪽에서 기다리세요. Here, wait. So the reason that I have these three written together is because 이쪽 plus 오세요, 두세요, 기다리세요. These are all like, hey, do this as requests or commands, imperatives. But then depending on the situation and the context, different particles can be used. Like 오세요, come over here. So it's a direction. 이쪽으로 sounds really natural. 이쪽에 두세요, put it down here. Even though it's an action, putting it here means you're pointing at a certain specific small location. So 이쪽에서 doesn't work. Okay? 이쪽에서 기다리세요. You're waiting. So 에서 is the only one that works. Okay? 이쪽으로, 이쪽에 doesn't work here. 이쪽으로 두세요. Okay, 이쪽으로 두세요 might work if you are imagining a situation where you're like putting it down by pushing it into the corner somehow. 이쪽으로, like that. Okay, and then 로 can also be used as something that marks a decision. So 피자로 하다. 피자로 하다. 로 is a direction, but you're going in the direction of choosing pizza for dinner. 오늘 저녁은 피자로 할까요? 피자로. And then similarly 가기로 아침에 가기 going in the morning로 했어요. We are going into the direction of going in the morning. Okay? Yeah. 로 can be explained as guiding someone with a specific direction. In the direction of a choice, in the direction of a plan, in the direction of a change. And then, finally, we have, of course, other particles like so-and-so, 랑, with, 하고, 같이, like, but you can learn more in the course that I added the link to in the description in the first line. But these are the most important parts because the other ones are fairly straightforward. 이것만, one of the first phrases you learn in any language is I only speak a little bit of so-and-so, right? And in Korean, coincidentally, that phrase itself is pretty complex because of this 밖에. So in English, you say, I only speak a little bit of English. And even though this should be challenging enough for beginner learners, but there's nothing, typically difficult. I only speak a little bit of English. And then in Korean, you have to say 한국어. So many people directly translate it and say 한국어 조금만 해요 or 한국어 조금만 할 수 있어요 because 한국어 is easy to learn. 조금 is a little bit. 만 is only. 할 수 있어요 is also pretty easy to learn. I can do it. So they often say it like that. But let me just say that these are not very natural sentences. The only natural sentence that you will say is 한국어 조금밖에 못해요. 한국어 조금밖에 못해요 is more natural. 한국어 조금밖에 못해요. And then in order to, unless you're just memorizing it, in order to fully understand this, you have to first learn the particle 만, which means only in certain specific situations. And then you have to learn the negative form. And then you have to learn, there are lots of prerequisites that you have to have kind of met in order to learn the sentence, the single sentence that you want to say. I only speak a little bit of Korean. So to say this, you have to learn a lot of things. I speak only a little bit of Korean. 그쵸? 그래서 한국어 조금밖에 못해요. If you want to say that, you have to learn. Can you say 기본적인 것만 해요? Yeah, those are fine. I mean, specific ones like 승훈님 said 한국어 아직도 부족합니다. The moment you say that, they know like, oh yeah, your Korean is really good. You're just being humble. 기본적인 것만 할 수 있어요. If you say it like that, they know, okay, you've learned a lot. You're just saying that you can only say simple things. But the reason that I'm bringing this up is because tons of people choose this sentence. 한국어 조금만 할 수 있어요? This sentence will be understood. This will serve two purposes, two goals. The sentence will be understood by every native speaker, okay? They will know that you are talking about the fact that you only speak Korean. But also because this sentence itself is so unnatural, it will be a clear sign that you are a beginner learner. And that's not the intention that you had, right? 한국어 조금밖에 못해요 is what you want to say naturally. And then back to the basic rules. 만, only. But in many, let me just say in this class that in a lot more contexts than you think in Korean, you have to say 밖에, outside of, and then the negative form. 이것밖에 안 가져왔어요. 이것밖에 안 가져왔어요. When you want to say that I only brought this, to emphasize that, this is the only thing I brought. 이것만 가져왔어요 would work, but the spotlight is on a different aspect. 이것만 가져왔어요 can be even a question. 이것만 가져왔어요. You are accusing the other person of making a mistake, of bringing only this. You should have brought more. But you can say, 이것밖에 안 가져왔어요. The most plain sentence is this one, surprisingly. 이것밖에 안 가져왔어요. 한국어만 할 거예요? I'm only going to speak Korean. 한국어만 할 거예요, 오늘. Yeah, that sounds naturally when you decide to only speak Korean. But 한국어밖에 못해요. I only speak Korean. When you don't know any other languages, this one is more natural. And 한국어만 할 거예요? 한국어밖에 안 쓸 거예요? I think in the same kind of situation, these two will work. Both of them will work naturally. 한국어만 할 거예요. 오늘 한국어만 할 거예요. 오늘 한국어밖에 안 쓸 거예요. Okay, in this case, these are interchangeable. Just remember that in many more situations than you would imagine, you use 밖에 plus negative than 만. In other words, to flip it, 만 is used in many, many fewer sentences than you would think, even though 만 is a very easy one-to-one direct translation for only. Okay. We've covered everything about particles that I have prepared. So let me go from the top really quickly. There are many particles in the Korean language, and as you can see in this class, you can take this full course to learn everything about particles. It has 11 video lessons, and you can, of course, while you are there, you can look at many other courses on our course website, Talk to Me in Korean. And number one, everybody makes mistakes regarding Korean particles, even advanced learners, and you will have to continue to study the subtle, nuanced usages, even as a native speaker, even as an advanced speaker. And then there are lots of examples of where the subtle differences, 카페, 도, 카페를 can paint a different picture in the listener's head. 를 can be surprisingly used after a place name as a choice. And then we looked at several variations, like depending on which words form a group, a meaning group, right? And then a plain sentence and a surprise. Plain sentence, surprise, and some other examples. Feel free to rewind and rewatch any part of this live class when you want to learn more in detail. And let me answer some questions before we go. 답변을 좀 해볼게요. 아까 질문을 몇 개 받았는데 Nice. I like it. 감사합니다. 마음에 드는 댓글이에요. This is going to be me shamelessly promoting our own service. It's a comment I like. 마음에 들어요. It enters my heart. So thank you for recommending Talk to Me in Korean. And then in the example with 피자로, even though the question used 하다, it doesn't. Okay, let me just copy and paste. It doesn't have anything to do with making pizza then. Yeah. Oops, I'm sorry, I hit you. So and so 로 하다 is a fixed expression to mean to choose. You're shopping for clothes and then 이걸로 할게요. I'll choose this. Okay? And you're choosing between 3 different colors, yellow, blue, orange, and then okay, 파란색 할게요. Something like that. 커피로 할게요. It has nothing to do with making things. Mystical Eve, thank you for this question. I like it as well. Not that I'm choosing questions based on how much I like them, but very important. 한국말, 한국어, 한국말. What is the difference? It's the same thing, but it just feels a little different. Okay, let me try and explain. 한국어 is the most plain, neutral, standard expression that means the Korean language. 한국말, it's not only spoken Korean, but to me at least it feels more like an effort to try sounding a little more native, or try it feels to me like an effort to use as much native Korean as possible, because 한국, we know that it is based on Chinese characters, but it's the name of the country, and 어 is also based on it's a Sino-Korean word, 위 or 고 in Japanese. It can be read in Chinese and Japanese, right? But then 말 is native Korean, so 한국말. When somebody says, so imagine a scholar, a professor, never saying 한국어 and always insisting on 한국말. I can kind of make some guesses about his or her philosophy about Korean education. More purist approach. That's the vibe I get, okay? If you say 한국말 deliberately and never say 한국어, all right, so you might not like it when people make too many slang words, or you might not like it when you hear too much Konglish. So it's a vibe kind of thing, 한국말. And then one step further, the 국립국어원, like the National Institute of the Korean Language, that is supposed to, do more activities to preserve the Korean language as is, or, educate the public about the Korean language. They would often say 우리말, like our language, but then it's not inclusive of everyone who speaks the Korean language, because an American person, a French person, an Indian person calling the Korean language 우리말 wouldn't make sense inherently. So yeah, it's a vibe thing. I just say 한국어 because it's the most natural and standard thing. 한국말, yeah, I don't use that word as much as some other people. Yeah. I even have some friends who are from other countries that use this word 우리말. 저 우리말 배웠습니다. Things like that, just to kind of please older generations. But I personally think that's wrong. Okay. Yeah, I agree that learning is never ending. So if you want to choose the more safe one, use 한국어. All right. A couple more questions and we'll call it a day. I was doing level 4 test and I don't understand why. 훨씬 인기 있는 가수는 누구예요? Who is the most popular singer? Who is the most popular singer? Okay. 가장 인기 있는 가수는 누구예요? 제일 인기 있는 가수는 누구예요? That would be the correct translation. 훨씬 인기 있는 means much more popular. 훨씬 means it includes the meaning of more, much more. Yeah. I agree that ChatGPT can be surprisingly good at explaining nuance for specific sentences. Use AI tools wisely and effectively, and you will learn much faster. So ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, these tools can be great for providing you with answers. Like sometimes there will be hallucinations, especially ChatGPT these days. I just try regularly to check, okay, does it know the word origin, word etymology of this phrase? And they make up stories still, like it happened yesterday. So yeah, but breaking down sentence structure, it's perfect. 한자. 한자는, so let me actually go to our site over here and show you our 한자 book. Where's our 한자 book? It's over here as a bundle. So 한자, your essential guide. 한자 is basically so you can go to Talk to Me in Korean, our YouTube channel. Here, you can stay here and then go to the main channel page and look at this look inside page, look inside video to see more, to learn more about 한자. But learning 한자 can help you unlock many Korean vocabulary words, because it's kind of like learning Latin-based word roots, Greek-based word roots, and then, for example, when you learn the word international in English, it helps to know that inter means between, and then nation is a country, and all is the adjective maker. So kind of like that. So 학생, you break it down like this. 학 plus 생. 학 means learn, student, study, and 생 is a person or member. So you don't have to learn the actual strokes of the Chinese characters unless you want to study Chinese or Japanese afterwards. You just have to learn the meaning behind this. So 생, so for example, mainly speaking, 생, like that. 생, yeah, I think, yeah, that's the Chinese character, and it can also be like live 생방송. This is a live 생방송. And you don't have to, what I'm saying is you don't have to learn this character. You just have to know that, oh, 생 means live, or 학생. I'm trying to show you the, yeah. So if you look at this, 학 means to learn. The Chinese characters are more kind of, it's closer to the traditional system. So the Chinese characters that you will see inside the Korean language, in Korea, in traditional Chinese, and in simplified Chinese, and in Japan, the four systems will be slightly different. So eventually you will see the differences, but in Korean, we're closer to the traditional system. So you don't have to learn the strokes here. If you want, it's fine. I won't stop you, but just know that 학 can be related to studying. Okay. And that is it for today. It's been a fun 90-minute run. If you want to review, please come back to this live class, the recording. And yeah, thank you for being kind to my son earlier when he was appearing for a little bit. And I will see you again. 다음 주에 만나요. Please check out our podcast, our YouTube videos, all our tools. Everything will be in the description for this live class. And check out this Korean Particles Party course as well. 그럼 여러분 다음 시간에 만나요. 감사합니다. Yeah, everyone listen to Elizabeth and sign up. 감사합니다. Bye bye.